women's podcaster, the first official women's podcaster party of 2026. I don't know about you. I kind of feel like 2026 has already been 6 months, so I don't know how it's the first one, but it only has been less than a month, right? Whew. And I'll take a big communal sigh of whatever you need to sigh out. So I think I know everyone in the room, but I always like to introduce myself. Hello, everyone. I am Julie Marty-Pearson. I am the creator and host of the Women's Podcaster Party. And I created this space, I should know exactly, but a little over a year and a half ago, because I definitely saw a need in podcasting for spaces that were for women, by women, a safe space, a learning spot, a community, whatever it is that we need, because we don't have a lot of that in podcasting. We have lots of communities, but there aren't a ton, although I have found some more that I will share with you that focus on women. And I actually heard someone say this a few months ago, and it really stuck with me is as podcasters, when we're choosing what categories to put our podcasts under, there are no options that are for women. There are no women empowerment. There are no women podcasts, women's health. There's nothing specific to us. And so, even though a lot of us are really doing podcasts for women, so we got to create the community instead and share each other's podcasts so that we can share them, in the broader communities that we're a part of. So today is our full hour of networking. I'm gonna give everybody a chance to introduce themselves and share if you have a podcast, if you're a guest, those sorts of things. And then we're going to just have some group discussions, but we'll also do some breakout rooms so you guys can get to know each other in smaller groups. And I really want to use this time this month to talk about what do you all need? What do you guys need in terms of support? In terms of learning, in terms of whether you are starting a podcast, growing a podcast, being a guest, what are some of the things you would like to see me do here in this community as well as in my membership community and on my podcasts? I really want to hear from you guys because I have my things that I need and want, but that doesn't mean it's the same for all of us. We're all at different points in our podcasting journey. But a reminder, tomorrow we're doing another event, and that is our event with a featured speaker. Tamira Hamilton is going to be here, and we're going to be talking YouTube. The best ways to set up a channel, the best ways to grow a channel, and specifically to having a podcast, sharing your guest episodes, etc. So I'm very excited for that because I've already learned stuff from her, and I know you guys are going to get a lot of great tips. Alrighty, let me make sure. I am going to use a timer because, we're podcasters and guests and speakers. We can all talk, right? we Sometimes we need a little reminder that other people gotta have some time. So I'm gonna give everybody 3 minutes, and you're also welcome to put any links and share anything in the chat. That is totally open to you. But use your 3 minutes to tell us who you are, where you're from, what your business is. If you have a podcast, what is it about? If you're a guest, what do you like to talk about on podcasts? And any other things, that are important to you that you want to share with the whole group. And again, you'll have more time to get to know each other in some small groups today, but I just like to have this. And then the recording goes out to everyone who's registered, even if they couldn't be here. And I also post it on my YouTube channel so people can see it, even if they haven't come to an event before. It's a really great way to connect with people on multiple levels. So I will start and I will time myself too because, I could just keep going. Hi, everybody. I'm Julie Marty-Pearson. I am a podcaster, speaker, coach, and advocate. I help women own their voice, share their story, and grow their visibility through podcasting, either by starting their own show, growing an existing one, or becoming an awesome podcast guest. So I created this networking community where I offer free events every month. I also have a low-cost membership where I do additional deep dive workshops. I have our live pitch fest for guests every month. I do different group coaching and things like that. And then I have 3 podcasts now. I don't know what I was thinking, but here we are. My newest one is still becoming Women Unmuted, and it really is all about women's voices, women's stories, a platform for us to share, connect, and grow and support each other with everything going on in the world around us. My other podcast is Podcast Your Story, and that is all about podcasting. I interview amazing women podcasters about their journey, how they got started, what they've learned, and then I share a lot of tips on how to launch, how to grow, and how to be a good guest. My third podcast is my passion project, which I always says explains the background behind me, and that is the story of my pet, which is all about advocating and educating for animal rescue, fostering, and adoption. That is where I started in podcast a little over 4 years ago. And it is a side project that kind of gets put on the back burner sometimes, but every day people are listening, people are sharing. It is small but mighty, and I'm very proud of that podcast just because any impact I can make with it in the animal rescue world, makes a difference for me. So that is me, and I'm so excited to have familiar faces, a couple newer ones, and I can't wait to hear about everybody else. Let me stop my timer. And anyone want to jump on as the first to go next? Otherwise, I'll just start going around the Zoom room. Okay, Kat, you go first.
I somehow knew that you were going to pick me, but that's okay. I am Kat, owner of Path to Discovery Coaching. I am a master NLP transformation coach, a hypnotherapist, and a Reiki practitioner, soon to be Reiki master, and which is good because I seem to be calling in a lot of Reiki masters into my world. I have my membership, which is Calm Clarity Reset, which is where my members come in for that calm and clarity meditation Reiki experience, especially since so many want to know, how do I experience Reiki through Zoom? So this is a great way to get that experience. I have a monthly workshop. I have one coming up on February 4th. That is Shift Happens, and we have a lot of conversations depending on who shows up and what they bring to the table. So there's lots of perspective shiftings, and it's a lot of fun to join that conversation. And I have lots of things with my Reiki and my hypnotherapy and my group coaching program that I'm always loving to talk to people about, and actually love connecting and learning about other people. And there was something else I was going to say. Oh, I work with women 40 plus that are overwhelmed, exhausted, and living in that chaotic space. Most of them are in career, some of them are solopreneurs, and a few good men. And I am that bridge over to calm, clarity, empowered, and living that extraordinary self, and really stepping into who they are and who they want to be, living through their wants and needs. Um, and I think that is the bulk of it.
Great. Sorry, I forgot I had muted myself. Thank you very much. And I love, Kat, that you're always like, I don't want to have a podcast. I don't want to do it, but now you're doing live videos in your Facebook group, so you're inching your way in there one way or another.
So yes. So word of advice, don't. So I had like 30 interview requests recently because my group grew by 100 people in 2 days. And I messaged all of them my calendar, and then Facebook put me on a 7-day restriction. So don't message me with expectation of getting a response. I can't respond because I'm on restriction from Facebook. So just a super tip.
Yeah, I haven't had it happen to me recently, but sometimes Facebook doesn't like it if you're doing a bunch of messages in one day. I've found it's not as big of a deal if they're all your friends, but if they're not your friends yet and you're sending a bunch, it'll like alert something. So, yes, that's a very good tip. And I feel like there's so much more of that right now with Facebook and Instagram. And of course, TikTok is just a mess. People are just leaving that left and right because of all these changes they're making. So, well, thank you, Kat. Happy to have you here again. Okay, next in my Zoom room is Frida.
Hi. Should have been sitting here unmuted. Sorry, guys. My name's Frida. I have a business called Frida Moletsky Healing Arts. It's almost 1 year strong. And I have a podcast. It's called The Healing Artist. And I have never stood in front of other people before and spoken or been a public speaker. I started the podcast to get better at that. And I found out that I loved it. I post twice a week. It's my favorite thing in the whole world. I've been podcasting about a year and I'm already at my 108th episode because it's my favorite thing ever. So I just love it. I do have guests and I love to be a guest on other people's podcasts, but I am a semi-trance voice channel. I channel a energetic consciousness called Elizabeth, and I love talking about stories that go from darkness to light, so transformational stories about healing. So yeah, if you're interested in being a guest, you're welcome to reach out for me, or if you want me to be a guest on your podcast, I would love that too. I am really enjoying learning about YouTube and have seen some nice growth on YouTube. And about 2 days ago, one of my biggest things is practicing the pause. I love that teaching. Like, could we practice the pause? And I did not take my own advice. 3 days ago, had a total meltdown and decided to leave all social media. So that
Mm.
is like I realized that wasn't a great place for me to be. So I've decided to go out and network within my own community. Because doing that for a year, I'm like, I don't like the way this makes me feel. And I haven't gone outside to network in my own community yet. And I'm really looking forward to that because I think that's going to be a better road for me in business. And that's me.
I love that. I love that. And I did see your message telling people you were leaving. I think it was Instagram I was on. And I think so many of us are because when we go there, it's distracting and we go down a hole we don't want to, but we all feel like we have to be there. It's like this, balance. And so I think that's why communities like this and so many others are so important because a lot of us don't want to connect that way as much. We want to have more authentic connection. And I am like you, I don't do a lot of connecting in my local community because it's really easy to do it online. So sometimes we have to push ourselves to do that. All right, next up in my Zoom room is Andrea. You
Hello. So I'm Andrea Stenberg. I'm a video marketing strategist and host of the Courage to Be Visible podcast. So the podcast is about overcoming that fear of being visible and sharing stories with other entrepreneurs about their experiences and what they've done to be visible. And so my sort of goal for the podcast is to inspire listeners to have the courage to be visible. But my secret goal for the podcast, which isn't really secret because I tell everybody about it, is I really feel like if heart-centered entrepreneurs who genuinely want to help other people, if we all become more visible and more vocal, then we change the tone, we change the story, and we can make the world a little bit of a better place. And so that's sort of my passion about why I started the podcast. I don't even have any like ulterior motives or goals or like KPIs. It's kind of this is really a passion project for me. And I mean, yeah, I want to grow my business, but it's really about let's make the world a better place. And that's what I'm trying to do with it. And yeah, that's me.
Thank you. I think a lot of us echo that sentiment that yes, of course, we all would love more clients and our business to grow in whatever ways, but I think so many of us are craving that connection and that community and that just the advocacy that we want to share, but we want to share it with others. So I think a lot of us are doing that. I love that you have your new podcast out. I've been seeing you post about new episodes. So I just love people I've met over the last couple of years and now seeing you all with podcasts or the podcast growing. I think we also keep each other going. There are days when I think, why am I doing this? Why did I start a third? Is anyone listening? Does it matter? And then we see everybody else and we're like, yes, it does matter. People are seeing it, people are listening, right? So I hope we can continue to inspire each other. Okay, up next in my Zoom room is Heather.
Hello, I am Heather Almendinger. I am a community-based educator and the founder of Vividus, the Full of Life company. My work focuses on body literacy and cyclical awareness, helping those tweens, teens, moms, and families move through different phases so they can respond with more clarity, compassion, and confidence. I am the host of the Embracing Flow podcast, where we swing wide open the doors on menstruation and we talk about periods. We talk about cramps. We talk about how sleep, how everything impacts that beautiful cycle that most of us hate and why we need it and how it's now this is my statistic. I say 5% of that cycle is for babies. 95% of it is for your general overall wellness and how our cycles, even though we stop bleeding, we still have cycles until the day we take our last breath and how to live in harmony with that. I do look for guests that like to talk about cycles, are either sleep, pelvic floor, something that has to do with women's wellness. And I like to talk to groups. I've recently transitioned kind of from one-on-one and to more community-based. So that way, libraries, schools, and that sort of thing, I get to know them a little bit more better. Because I have found right now there's the big perimenopause, menopause, everybody's talking about it. We kind of forgot about what happens to those teens. And if we understand, remember what we were going through when we first started puberty, opening up that door, explaining what our bodies are actually doing, when to seek medical professional assistance, when it's just something that's a little bit atypical, but it can be easily remedied with simple things. That's what Embracing Flow is about. That's what I love to do.
I love that.
And 30
I love
countries
that
strong.
perspective too.
And I'm
Yes.
30 countries strong. I just looked at Simplecast. I have now hit 30 countries. I'm on 6 continents. It's absolutely phenomenal. I love it.
Yes. I love that. And I think that's so true. I mean, it's almost oversaturated sometimes, like scrolling perimenopause, menopause. It's like, okay, guys, I would like to not think about it every day. But it's also true that I was actually thinking about this. It's totally random. But yesterday I saw someone post that it was the 40th anniversary of the Challenger space shuttle disaster. And when I see stuff like it brings me back to childhood, how we saw it in on the TV in the school room or all those things. But it also made me think about kids right now. Kids who are that age now and what they're living through. And it really kind of made me step back and think, we're not always talking about that. I'm not a mom, so it's not in my everyday life. But then it's like, oh my God, kids are living through this craziness. And even like when we went through the pandemic, kids lived through that. And so, Heather, I think what you're saying is so important because all the girls at a certain age are going through that on top of everything else. And I know when I was young, we didn't talk about it, right? And I love how much we talk about women's health now, but we talk about us at our age now, not necessarily how we can support the younger women as they, start that process, are living through some of the same things we have experienced. So, such a great topic. I love that. Okay, next up in my Zoom room is Samantha. And also, guys, feel free to drop your links in the chat if you want to share your website or your podcast or anything like that.
Cool. I'm Samantha Foote. I own Boise Music Therapy Company and Every Brain is Different. I have a podcast, Every Brain is Different, and we talk about parenting strategies for parents raising neurodivergent kids. And then my staff and I do music therapy, behavioral therapy, and I have a parenting community, and someone joined it yesterday. So yay. I ran into room with my husband and I was like, big news, huge news. And he was like, you're awesome. But anyway, so yeah, that's what I do. And I also found out yesterday that I'm 1 point away on listen notes from being in the top 3% of all podcasts. So right now I'm in the top 5%. And so I was very excited about that. But yeah, that's me.
I love that. And I have to ask you, how did you find out that? Did they notify you? Where did you see the data
No,
for it?
I was looking at someone else's, okay, so I went on ChatGPT and I just got back from Podfest and they gave me lots of good things to do. And one of them was to go on ChatGPT and ask what podcast you should be on that complement your services. And
Oh, I
so
love that.
I did that and it gave me like 50 different podcasts. And then I was looking at them on listen notes to see like their how active they are, like all just researching the podcast. And I saw someone that had 1 point higher than me on listen notes, and they were in the top 3%, and I was in the top 5%.
Oh,
So yeah. Anyway, that's
interesting.
how I found out. But yeah.
Yay. Well, I'm
Yeah.
so glad you're here. And I'm still sad I didn't get to go to Podfest this year. So, those of you that did, I will definitely be saying, teach us, tell us what the top things you learned were because we want to pass that on. And I love that idea of asking chat, what podcast should I be on that align with my own? That's such a great
Yeah.
way to do a little research. And I'm sure everybody knows, but if you don't know what Listen Notes is, Listen Notes is a website that is basically a podcast direct search engine directory. It's simply listennotes.com. And when you set up your podcast as a traditional podcast, is what I call it, audio only RSS feed, one of the options you have is to be added to Listen Notes. And so you can go there, and it's literally all it is a search. And you can search by topic, by keyword, by someone's name, by category, and it's just literally a directory of podcasts. But why I love it, and I always tell people in my workshops and my clients to use it, is because it gives you data you can't see other places. It gives you a ranking globally. And so, congrats, Samantha, to have a top 5% podcast. That means her podcast is in the top 5% of all podcasts. And they pulled data from a lot of places to create that. And it means a lot to be able to see that on those. But it also gives you info on other podcasts like how long their episodes are, how often they put them out, when they started, do they have guests, what categories are they listed under. So I have people search that when they're getting ready to launch to see what else is happening in their area. But it's also something I tell guests to search to find ones to apply to. So I love that you asked chat and then chat sent you to listen notes. So anyway, that was me just jumping on my teacher hat for a second. Thank you, Samantha. Okay, next up, Jackie.
Awesome sauce. Coach Jackie, your freedom mentor, RV adventurist, still 5.5 years later. God knows when we're going to stop. Currently parked in Colorado, but I'm located in Pennsylvania now because I still travel whether we're stationary or not. Freedom Mentor is really as you I just did a post about everything I did in January, and I was like I'm not doing enough, and then I listed everything that I did in January, all the people I visited, all the polka dot chapters I visited, all the things that I joined in with. Like I helped co-host a retreat for one of my clients, and I was like, wait a second, I'm like living my life, the freedom life that I desire, that I truly love. And it's been so much fun and easy, so fun and easy that I didn't realize I thought I wasn't working. Right. And so that's really when I talk about who I serve and what I do is I really help women step into that awakening, empowering, and owning who they are so they can create that life that they truly, truly desire and fit the money, success, and not have to like sacrifice that into that life. And one of the meetings I went to, a bunch of the women stood up and was like, I want to move to the next stage of my life. I've just did 30 years in corporate America, or this and that. And what was so cool to hear them talk about it, they were not necessarily trusting their choices, but they were like, I want to be a psychic medium, and I want to be a yoga teacher, and like to hear that powerful, like how women stepping into what they always probably were meant to be doing but they held back because they were told that they should do this and should do this. So that's kind of the work I do. I do that in like one-on-one coaching and masterminds and retreats and all that good stuff. My podcast is not even out yet, but it's brandy new, and I'm working currently with Julie in a class to get it out there. And it's called the Recovering I Got It Girl because the I Got It Girl, and I have a book I'm writing about the I Got It Girl as well. And I just kind of coined this image of myself that was the girl's like, I got it. I'm carrying 3 suitcases on my head. Don't open that door for me. I'm good. Wait, no, I don't need any help. Wait, no, 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 no. Like, and no matter how much people wanted to, I was like so fiercely independent, which really created an amazing life. And then there was a point where I realized I was leading my life from control and survival and from fear because as a child I learned how to do everything myself because I was pretty much solo. And I finally, the past few years, let go and allowed love, and allowed myself to thrive from a place of love and joy and surrender and trust. And that is what my podcast will be about: is bringing women onto the podcast, my own stories and your stories of when did you let go? Like when did you step into that place of thriving in your life that you were like, I'm doing this on my terms and I'm done and I'm ready for the next. So that's what it's going to be about.
Yay! Soon to be podcaster.
Yes.
Jackie she was one of four that just finished. I have a 6 week group program that I launched recently for launching a
Amazing.
podcast. And so it was so fun to get to know you better, but also, in the mix of these four new podcasters kind of figuring out what they want their podcast to be. So I cannot wait for it to be officially out. And I think so many of us identify as I Got It Girls in a lot of ways. So you will have lots of listeners from this community. Okay,
Awesome.
next up, we have a couple more left. Let's go to Rachel.
Hi everyone, I'm Rachel Davila with Extra Hands Virtual Assistants. I was a solo VA for a long time, and then when I hired my own VA, learned how scary it was from the client side of the VA client relationship. And so now I support overwhelmed business owners with what they need to know to find, hire, and work with VAs. And I have a podcast called Hey, Do I Need a VA? And a book with the same name. And there's four of us, and what do virtual assistants want business owners to know? And so we talk about that. So uh, this season and season 5, we're looking for guests who are specialists who kind of get lumped into the VA realm, but are more specialty than generalist. So, like a bookkeeper, graphic designers, those kinds of people. So, we're looking for guests who can bring that viewpoint of when do you go to a specialist versus a VA. But I'm also enjoying being a guest on other people's podcasts, sharing about the book, about the podcast, about my journey from I got this girl to delegating. So that's kind of been my journey as well. And I'm learning through my perimenopause journey that most women hit that not this moment when they can't do it all by themselves and they need that support and the mindset shift of doing it all to asking for help and accepting and receiving it. So I come from that place a lot now because, like you said, Julie, it's everywhere. And everyone in my generation is kind of going through it, right? Like Gen Xers
Right.
are all, we're all going through that understanding and acceptance that we just can't do it all, and that, hey, do I need a VA is probably on a lot of people's minds, like, who do I hand this off to if I can't do it anymore? So sharing what that could look like virtually or in person or whatever is kind of a mission for me. So that's me. Thank you.
Love it. Yeah, and I think that's so true. And I think a lot of us stop handing it off because then it's like, well, how do I hand it off? How do I know what to hand off? Like it's all that, which is all the things that Rachel covers on her podcast because I do some very much VA type work for clients. And a lot of times they're spending more money for me in the beginning because they don't have anything set up or ready for me and they don't even know how to set it up. So I think your podcast and your book are so essential for women entrepreneurs. Plus, I also heard this one time on I think it was an Instagram reel. It might even just been someone's interview that she said it. That she said that she figured out women were born with a certain number of F's to give, which leads into our patience, our I got it, I'll take care of it. And that by 50, we've run out of them. And we're at the point where, nope, I don't got it. You got to take care of it. Or I need a VA or whatever that is, right? So when I heard that one time, I can't remember. It was an actress that said it. I'm gonna have to maybe Google it. But it was just like, Yes, there is something about the timing and our reproductive journey and the timing of we get to a certain age, it starts in our 40s where we just literally have less F's to give. I actually have a t-shirt. It's a cat that's blindfolded doing this, and it says trying to find an F to give. And like some days I just need to put it on and be like, yep. So sorry, sidebar. Okay, two more, and then we'll do some breakout rooms. Connie, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
My name is Connie Warden, and I live in Littleton, Colorado. I have been an acupuncturist. I'm a yoga nut. I still teach yoga online. Um, and so doing all those very nice, spiritual things, I found myself being an asshole driver. So I decided that I wanted to change that using the stuff I know. And so I wrote a book. Um, and I've had this mantra for a while. I will not have a podcast. I will not have a podcast. I go to Podfest. Yeah, Jackie, right? I go to Podfest and I'm coming back going, huh, huh. So my tagline on here is life lessons and humor to the high road. And so I want to do something about taking the high road, the courage it needs to do that. Kind of Jackie, like what you did, I'm changing. I know this is what my culture wants, or what I've been or I've been conditioned to do. So I think do something like that. Um, so I'm hoping to get on onto Julie's next 6-week course. And let's see. I have 4 grandchildren, so I spend a lot of time on that. I'm always weighing work, kids. Yeah, that's me.
And you're
Oh,
also a regular guest. You've been on some podcasts in
yes.
the room. So, what topics do you like to talk about?
I like to do stuff about being a human being, being imperfect, and still being okay as a human being. And then how much that translate into having compassion for other people, because you have your own self-compassion. Um, yeah.
Such an important topic. I think so much of what in the world is happening is because we just don't have compassion and empathy for each other, but we also don't even have empathy and grace for ourselves sometimes, right? I'm not getting it done, I'm not doing enough, or whatever it is. It's like it's a balance. So, love it. Okay, last but not least, Elena, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Sorry I was tardy for the party, having some technical difficulties, but I'm here now. Woohoo! I'm Elena, and I would say I'm calling myself the intergenerational ambassador soul connector. I I work with seniors, also cancer patients, creating exercise programs, but also community is very big to me. So I want to bridge that gap, and we can be teachers and students no matter what age. We can learn from a 20-year-old just as much as my grandma's 99 from the 99-year-olds, and I want to bridge that because we always try to pin against each other, but in reality we can learn, and it's a lot of our ancestral patterns that we want to break, and if we can break those and show up for ourselves and have that so really strong. I was called grandma growing up, like I just, and my tagline is I like them real old. I do have a podcast. It's Your Health Vibes with Elena, and it's something I never thought I would do. It is one of my favorite things to do. I love stories. I want people to tell their stories authentically and genuinely. There's no like rhyme or reason to it. I don't do like, here's your questions to answer. It's having a very authentic conversation. And I just, I love it. I'm on my second year and it really makes me happy. I have guests right now all the way up to June and feel really proud of that. I was just on a podcast yesterday and then asked again today. So I really feel a big thing about this is one story thing that people don't know about. I hate public speaking. So I'm really trying to get better at that and put myself out more with that because I pretty much almost black out and almost faint when I'm on stage. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. And yeah, thank you for having me here. And I love hearing everybody's stories. And yeah.
Yay. Thank you so much, Lena. And so much of what you're talking about is so important because, we're all dealing with intergenerational things, whether it's us taking care of kids, us taking care of our parents, us, working with multiple generations in an environment or even speaking to on podcasts. And there's so much we can learn from each other if we just allow that connection. And yeah, so many ways to take that time. As you're speaking, I'm like writing down ideas because my newest podcast, which the tagline is Women Unmuted, is really talking about a lot of these things you guys have brought up, like our reproductive health and journey and how to support each other, our, not I got it girl and how do we ask for help and how do we, hand things off, but also our mental health and our spiritual health and our physical health, and we're taking care of parents or grandparents or kids or all of the or grandkids or all of the above. And so I think there's so many of these topics that women can feel supported by just listening to our conversations. And so that's a lot of what I want to do with that podcast specifically, is because there's so many stories I can share, but then I know all these amazing women that you guys all have a bunch of stories too. So I think that's why a lot of us, even if we are introverts and maybe don't like speaking, we still love podcasting because it is the connection we're building, right? Okay, before we jump into the first breakout room, I'm going to take a photo so I don't forget and I get it while everybody is here. So I always take a screenshot and then I take that and put it on social media and I tag everyone. I find that's the fastest way for us all to connect if we aren't yet. Okay, I'll give you a countdown. 1, 2, 3. Got it. Thank you very much. Okay, so our first breakout room, let me start getting those created, is gonna be, I want you guys to share. I will give you, let's see where we at. I'm gonna do 5 minutes. I'll have three of you in a room, and I want you to share whether you're a host or a guest. If you do both, choose which one you want to share for. What is the one tip you would give someone, a woman entrepreneur who is just starting out, whether it's as a host or a guest? What is the one tip you would give them, or the one best tip you were given? So you guys think of that for a minute. We'll open the rooms. You will have 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and share all the great tips that you guys share with each other. Alrighty. Oops, there we go. Opening the rooms. I will see you back in 5 minutes. Welcome back, everybody. Okay, I would love to hear what you all shared, what best tip someone told you. So anybody want to share, feel free to unmute and tell the rest of the group.
Pat
Yeah, Heather.
left us on a great note. As a guest, you don't have to be perfect.
Yeah. As we were being swept away, because I got in a group with two master podcast hosts, I said my super tip for guests is lose the perfection and bring in the evergreen. Because those are the two things that I had to learn when I started becoming a guest on podcasts. And then just get out of your own way and be a guest.
And it can
I
work
love
for
that.
as hosts too.
Mhm.
It can work for a host and a guest. You don't have to have that perfection.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. And I think a lot of us, even as hosts, we get into that when we're editing and we're like, fix that, take that out. It's like, no, like we don't want to take out what makes us human, what makes us unique. And especially now in the world of AI, it's almost like I want to leave that in because then people know I'm real and I'm not a perfectly polished AI version of someone, right? So I love that. And then, Kat, what you just said, evergreen. That's something I always am telling people with Get that are guests. Like, guys, pick the one link you know is always going to be up to date, that is always going to have current stuff. Don't talk about dates, and sometimes it just takes practice to learn how to do that when you're being interviewed because you want to talk about what's happening next week. But then you realize this episode's not coming out for 3 months. So that doesn't really help. So, yeah, that's a great tip, too.
That is
Anybody
still
else?
something I'm getting used to.
You guys literally hit on two of our groups. Like one was like Frida was like, just do it. Like have the first 10 are messy and do the thing, and you do it. That was one. And then I remember my first year of doing them, probably the first 20, like I would just do random links of things. And then finally I realized, oh, a link tree version of a link tree, whether it's Go High Level or whatever, you can change that on the back end on your end, and it changes for all the podcasts you shared it with. And I was like, that's duh. Like I had the moment of duh. So then from that point on, and then I started to get like I got clients from podcasts and I started getting things from podcasts. It was like because I did that. I made that one switch and had that evergreen link that I can change without having to figure out how to change it everywhere else, and that might be common sense to the techie person, but to me it didn't click until it clicked.
Well, and I also think that as guests, because we record them all over the place, and sometimes I don't even make a note of every time I'm recording one, and that's not, I tell my clients to do it, but I don't always do it. And so then sometimes even, especially when I'm using Podmatch, I'll book something months in advance, and then when the it comes up, like I did one last night, I was like, "Oh, what did I say I was going to talk about on this? Like, what was our conversation? Like, is this live? Is this recorded? What's happening? And so I think also we don't also even keep track of what we're pitching ourselves for and what we want to talk about. Or the episode comes out and it's like, I wonder what I talked about in that interview, right? So there's so many ways we can keep track of it to better assist ourselves that we don't always think about. And I think the same thing is true with hosting, especially if we record and edit and put out later. Sometimes I have to go look at it and be like, wait, what did we talk about in this? Like, what was the point? Especially with my pet one. I have like 10 interviews recorded, and it's like I know the names of the guests, but I don't always remember what the topic was for each one of them. So, yeah, there's so many ways we can help ourselves. Any other advice or tips anyone shared they want to share in the larger group?
We also had um your thing, making sure your thing is not assuming they already have the thing. So Rachel was talking about like the VA thing. Like do they even know they need a VA? So someone suggests a podcaster suggested that she created a what'd you say? What did you a quiz instead of just like here's the things that you need, but it's like, well, do you even need one? And so it was a big change for her, and she got a lot more traction with that.
Yeah, and I think
It was a
that's a
great
good
share.
thing too, that your link doesn't have, like, I use my website mostly, but it doesn't have to be that. And it could be a lead magnet. It could be something that no matter what people do, that's a good starting point for them in your world. It could be a checklist or, like you said, a quiz. And I think that's a great thing to do even as a host. And maybe that's the thing you have in the show notes every episode that somebody can click on too. Yeah, Elena.
A couple of things, kind of piggyback of what one of my best advice too that someone had told me because I do mine live is don't give a shit, just do it because then someone else can relate. Like, people are like, do you edit? Do you do? I don't. And also asking for help. Tech is not my lane, so I have a company do it for me. I get to give them my information and show up and not have that stress, but not caring. Like, I don't care if the mailman's in the background. I told the story. I'm a sweater beyond belief. So I always like have washcloths before, and then I forgot, and I was like, whoop, here I am, sweaty Betty, like, so then someone else can relate. Right now I'm like sweating profusely and whatnot. So just being honest and authentic, then you can like, of course, Grandma over here with her blanket and everything else, can relate. And also, Samantha had said partnering maybe with someone out of another country or somewhere else where that you can get more traction of, your client or your guest or people with that so people can see overall. So that's
I love that. And that's something that's happened to me with my pet podcast because I get reached out to from people all over. And I'm currently charting in Egypt. I don't know why. But there are times where I'll see a boost in a country or even a city based on who the guest was, but then they stay and they keep listening and they look at other episodes. So, that's why we have guests is to boost our visibility and tap into others. So it is a good thing to tap into other cultures, other countries, other locations. But yeah, and that's also I would assume the lure of live streaming is all that back end work you're cutting out. I mean, you still have to if you take it and put it like on the traditional apps, but yeah, there's something nice about just doing it and you're not worried about it and it's out there. And, I think as women, especially, we respond when we can hear the woman really, being vulnerable, being real, joking about what just happened, 5 minutes ago and all of that kind of stuff. Yes.
Another thing
Okay.
I did as a guest is I put
Oh, yeah.
everybody's podcast on my website. That was something else I meant to
Yes.
mention. So like I have a page of all of them, and I love going back and listening or like observe and then checking out like where they're at now and following. Like I don't know, I just think
Right.
it's really fun to have that.
As
Yeah, I have a page on mine. I do a speaking page and a guesting page so that I can link all of them. And it also helps your, SEO and traffic to your website too.
I
Yeah,
also,
Rachel.
if any podcasts that I'm on, if they have them on YouTube as well, I've got a playlist on my YouTube of just
Yep,
all the podcasts I've been on so that
me too.
and then it's really great like if you're like if some podcasts they want to know like where or even at summits where have you spoken and I can just go here's this link,
Hmm.
here's where I've been and so it's kind of good credibility just for that as well as helping the other like the podcast hosts get visibility by they get seen too.
Yeah, it can become an important part of your like system when you're a guest is, oh, episode's out. I'm going to take this, I'm going to email it, I'm going to put it on social, I'm going to put it on my website, I'm going to add it. Not everybody's on YouTube, but yeah, I do the same and I really like it because then if I forget, I can go easily just go to my playlist and like, oh yeah, here's the link for that. It makes it a lot easier for us too. And I'm sure for the hosts, but it's us being a good guest, but it's also being us a good host by sharing the things we want people to use. Like, please give them the link you want them to use. Don't make them go find one because who knows which link they're going to be sharing, right? That's another one I see a lot too. Okay, I'm going to drop in the chat the link. Again, if you're not already registered, we're doing this again tomorrow at 1 Pacific. And if you can't make it live, go ahead and register and then I'll email the link out so you can hear. I'm going to be interviewing Tamara about YouTube, but then we're also going to have space for everybody there live to ask their questions. So I have a feeling it's good. It's going to be mostly that and not a whole lot of networking because I know we have a lot of YouTube questions. And I also wanted to drop in there the Pitch Fest, which I do in my membership. You can also come as a one off if you want to come. So that is an hour live on Zoom. Everybody gets 3 minutes to introduce and pitch themselves as a guest. And then after the event, I send you the clip of your pitch. So you can put it on your website, you can put it on YouTube, you can do whatever you want with it. You can use the audio. And so I love doing those because I think we all learn from hearing how each other pitches. And there's always like the similarity. And even if there isn't someone in the room that might be a good connection, there's going to be someone that introduces you to someone is a really great way to kind of get the dominoes of whether it's you being a guest or you finding a great guest for your show. And speaking of the parties coming up in February, the featured speaker is going to be me because one of the topics I got asked about was interview skills, both as a host and as a guest. And so for me, that is actually the easiest part because of my background in psychology. As an undergrad, I was taught how to facilitate focus groups and conduct interviews for research. But, there's a lot of little things that we can do to make it easier on ourselves. But I know a lot of times guests are nervous those first few times they do it. And because what we love about podcasting is we do it however we want to, and we all do it differently. As a guest, how do I prepare when they all do it differently? So, we're going to be talking about tips and tricks for being the interviewee and the interviewer. And I also am starting to see a lot more of live streaming. So that's a little bit different as an interviewer and as a guest, but also panels. Panels are becoming more popular in podcasting where you have 2 to 3 people. And that's a very different vibe of managing that, especially as a host versus, and also as a guest, you wanting to make sure you get your time without interrupting people. So there's a lot of layers to that. And that's what we'll be talking about in February. So we only have a couple of minutes left, but while you guys are still here, I wrote this down. What is one thing that you would love help with, or one thing you want to learn with relation to podcasting? Yeah.
Well, piggybacking on what you said about like interviewing is strategies for when you're interviewing somebody who is just like their energy is flat and they're just like, they're kind of, one word answers and they like, because some people you go and it's like I have to rein them in, like that we don't talk for
Yep.
3 hours. But sometimes, like I've had a couple where it's like kind of like having a root canal, and you're like,
I've
and
had
like
that
trying to get
too.
them to talk.
And the couple ones I've had happen to be authors. So what I learned was just because they're great at writing stories doesn't mean they can talk well or know how to they're very I found a couple of them just were short answers. It's like pulling teeth to get like no, I want you to tell me more, right? So yeah, that's a great. Thank you for saying that. I'm going to make a note. But also that too, the opposite is people who just go off and you can't even seem to get them to stop talking and they're answering a question for 10 minutes and you're like, "Hi, I'm here too," right? So there's both sides. Any other ideas, topics, things that you would like to learn about so that I can pull some people in the podcasting world? Or even if you went to Podfest, did you hear a topic you think would be good? Maybe you heard a speaker that would be good. Bye, Elena. And if you don't think of it now and it comes to you after, which always happens, just email me or DM me and let me know. Because as I start building it, I do have a potential speaker that is her business, sorry, is specifically how to use Pinterest to grow your podcast. So I don't know which month she's speaking yet, but that's one of the ones I know for sure we're having coming up. Some of the other things people asked for was data. Where is my podcast data? How do I understand it? And how do I use it to grow my podcast? So that will be a topic. I'm not sure who yet, but that will definitely be a topic. And then, we may end up with other aspects of YouTube we want to drill down into, but for tomorrow, it's going to be mainly strategy, how to get more subscribers, how to grow your channel, or how to set it up for success. Alrighty, well, we are at time, and I know we all have a very busy schedule, so I just want to say thank you all so much for coming. It was great to have you here and to everybody to get to know each other, and I hope to see you tomorrow, and if not, next month. So have a great rest of your day, everybody.